welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to hearing last week. You guys seem to really be enjoying this content so far, so thank you so much for watching. Today we are going to be talking about school. Yay! These last couple months I have been doing college in a pandemic and it had been absolutely freaking terrible. I got through my first semester, I got great grades, and you can do it too. So I'm going to be talking to you guys a little bit about my experience and my tips, and if you're interested in that, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and let's get started. So I'm very lucky and my school did all in-person classes this semester, even with COVID, which was kind of scary at first. I didn't pack as much as I should have. I didn't bring a car, which I should have brought a car because I thought we would have been going home within 2 weeks, but we made it all 4 months and it was the longest that I've ever been on campus, which was very, very crazy. Everybody was wearing masks and that was definitely the hardest part about trying to live on campus while having a massive hearing loss. The first week of class was probably the worst week of my entire college experience. I remember going to class and just like staring at my professor and not understanding a single word coming out of their mouth. It was just like completely useless for me to be in class, and I've always had a transcriber. My university provides a transcriber for me for my accommodations, but I've never ever had to use it. I've had it as a backup resource, but I've never had to actually rely on my transcriber because I would just lip read what the professor was saying and it was all great, and just having the transcriber as a backup was just amazing. But I just could not understand a single word coming out of my professor's mouth. It was so bad. It was like ridiculous. I remember coming back from one of my classes where my professor had a heavy Spanish accent, so I like couldn't understand what they were saying even more on top of how hard it already is. And I was just like bawling my eyes out. I was like, I'm not gonna be able to make it through this semester. I have to go home. I have to drop out of college. I don't know how the heck I'm gonna do this. The first week was very, very rough. But I adapted and I started actually using my transcriber, which was really weird to be looking down at my phone instead of at the professor to understand what they were saying. But like when you can't read lips, like what are you looking at? So that is the first thing that really, really helped me was my transcriber. Another thing that I think everybody should implement is clear masks. So I know there was like some research done on the face shields where they didn't quite work as well, but they have like cotton masks with clear paneling, and oh my gosh, that helps so much for lip reading. So I highly recommend talking to your school's coordinator to see if they can get some of those, because honestly they don't really need to get that many, like 7 or 8, how many professors you have, maybe one for your RA. The second thing that helped so much doing college in a pandemic was talking to your professors during office hours or before and after class to make sure that you actually got everything. So one of my professors would look at my notes after every single class to make sure that my notes were correct, and some of the times they weren't. So it was really, really helpful to go through them with my professor and have him correct things that I got wrong, because I never would have caught those mistakes if I wouldn't have gone through the notes with him. I'm not someone who like to leech off of other students for their work or their notes. I just don't really trust anybody but myself, if I'm quite frank, and I just don't like that. Going to the professor is so helpful. I'm lucky that he suggested it, but I think you guys should suggest it because most of the time the professors are actually really, really nice people. Another thing that helps so much is having them give you their lesson plan for the day or their PowerPoint, whatever it is, before class. And again, these are all things that I had before the pandemic. I just never used them because for the most part, like, I was able to lip read and understand, everything was good. But if you don't plan ahead for class, being in class will be useless because it's just like so much going on and so much to process. So make sure that you actually like utilize those accommodations and read the lesson plan and go through the slideshow so you're ready for class and you know what questions to ask, and you at least have some sort of direction on what they're going to be talking about. And it's just so much easier to piece what's going on when you do that. Also, if your videos or other materials that are being shown in class have not been closed captioned before, like, now is the time to make sure that it is closed captioned. I think now with the pandemic, so many people have been coming up to me and telling me that they think they have hearing loss because they can't understand anything, but I realized that a lot of people read lips and don't even realize it. So it is a great time to start implementing more closed captioning if you haven't before, and just making this the new normal. So hopefully after we've recovered from this and people are not wearing masks all the time, we still have closed captioning everywhere, because people now realize how important it actually is and how much harder it is even for the regular hearing person to hear now, because they're not lip reading as much. And now just think about how much harder it is for us. It really is hard, but we can use this time to our advantage to further implement things that have been so lacking in the past. If you have never read a class textbook before, this is the time to read the textbook, because oftentimes the textbook had taught me more than my professors ever could, just because I can't really understand anything that's coming out of their mouth. So the textbooks really saved my life. I always thought they were a waste of money and just a waste of space, but I'm very glad that I bought all of my textbooks this semester, because I needed to read them, otherwise I literally would have failed all of my classes. One thing that I didn't use this semester that I think would be really helpful for some of you guys is a FM system or a microphone listening device, because even if you can't read lips through a mask, having the microphone and their voice go straight to your hearing aids or cochlears or whatever it is would be so helpful, because it's just closer and you don't have to strain to hear. First of all, you don't have to look at them for reading lips, and just like having that voice closer to you would be so much more helpful. I don't use an FM system. I don't think that I need it. It's just another piece of equipment that stresses me out, so I don't use it, but I think it would be actually really helpful. Get to class early so you can sit in the front seat, so you can go over things with your professor and just kind of go over things and make sure that they're aware that you're there and that you are who you are, because professors have a lot of students and they don't really know all of them. That's definitely one thing that I learned, like knowing my professors and like having to talk to them all the time because of this. They knew who I was, but they didn't know who anybody else was, even by the end of the class, just because they deal with so many people. So make sure you get there early so you can pick your seat and you can go over stuff with the professor and make sure that they're aware of your situation. And then the last tip I have for you guys is, if any time, this is the time that you guys have to advocate for yourself and be super loud about what you need, because college was already hard enough before all of this. This is just 10 times worse, and I can't even imagine if you're doing online school how hard it would be to not even be there in person. Oh my gosh, that's just a whole nother beast. And I'm so glad that I'm not in that situation, but you have to advocate for what you need, even if you are, because it's so much easier for people to ignore you through a screen. But if you show up and you tell them what you need, they have to do it. Advocate for yourself. It can be very uncomfortable, but once you do it a couple times, doing it a million more times will just feel like nothing to you. So make sure that you speak up for yourself. I'm not paying all this money to go to college to just not do well and not understand anything. So stand up for yourself. And that was it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it and learned something. Let me know your tips down below, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye!